Hello YouTubers, and welcome to my latest review of the latest online exclusive, which just arrived today, which is the Anthony Ainley Master figure. So yeah, this is the latest online exclusive, and I think this demonstrates a point right away that you can't quite do the iconic pose and that Anthony Ainley gig. It kind of looks a bit like it from the side, but from the front you can see his two hands aren't touching each other. But anyway, let's get into this figure and that, shall we? So let's start with the head sculpt and that on this thing. The head sculpt is pretty good. It is a new head sculpt and that of Anthony Ainley, and yeah, it's a pretty good likeness. It is, however, unpainted and that, though I will say out of the unpainted heads, this one probably looks the best, I'd say. However, it does still have that appearance of not quite being flesh tone, and that he does look a little bit dead, to be honest. And that it's just, you know, the pigment is slightly off. I will say at least they're getting better and that at it, but yeah, the pigment of his skin and that, it is just all slightly off, but still pretty nice head sculpt, and that obviously, you know, looks exactly like Anthony Ainley with the beard and everything like that. Now, in terms of the body of the figure, the legs are a straight up reuse of the Delgado Master figure, which is fine. And then the crotch piece is also that, but it has been slightly modified to have the extra buttons and that on the crotch piece. And then the torso, I think, is a new piece. And the only reason it probably is to accommodate, come on, the swappable head, which is on a little ball joint there. We'll pop this one back on for now, and we'll show the other head off later on in the video. But it being on a ball joint does give it a few extra sort of movements there. You can sort of break his neck a bit like that. But the tunic itself is really nice. It's got all the buttons and that, and all the creases and the puffs down the side. All the buttons and that on the sleeve. The hands, I think, are new. Honestly, I'm not sure about the hands, because they could just be moulded black from a different figure and that. But obviously you can see there that they do hold his TCE and that, which again I'll get on later. But yeah, the tunic, really nice, really well done. And that, it's a really nice figure, and that of the Master. And that, however, a few things. Obviously I've mentioned the head, how it's not painted, but something else. This is meant to be a Vortex Edition figure. In fact, the box itself specifically states so. In fact, we'll quickly show the box here. So, as you can see here, Vortex Edition, high deco and everything like that, and also a load of information, and that basically goes against what Big Finish have done. So I guess Alduar is on Team RTD in terms of let's just ignore Big Finish from now on type of thing. But anyway, so yeah, the colour and everything is nice and well done, painted, and that's the bits there. But a problem I have with this being a Vortex Edition is, obviously, I don't mind them reusing the legs and that, perfectly fine. However, the arms, if these are brand new arms and that, then why are they not ball jointed? Because it seriously limits the amount of poses you can do with this thing. If they were going to make brand new arms, then why not make them ball jointed? And also, being Vortex Edition, why has it got the pin going through the arm so it just has a bend? Why can't we have the ball jointed arms that we had with the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday? You know, if you're going to make new pieces and that. So I don't know, I'm just wondering, are these pieces reused from something else? And I'm trying to think, because if they are new pieces, why the hell are they like this? Why are they in the, you know, Gen 2 body style? Why aren't they Gen 3 bodies? And that Alduar loves to go on about So, yeah, I don't know why that's the case in that with this figure, to be honest. Because, again, you know, if you're paying more money and that for these, which we'll get onto the price at the end, then surely, you know, justify that cost a bit more. But in terms of the figure itself is pretty nice, and that's just on its own in a vacuum. Turning to accessories, well, we've got his TCE in open mode here. Now, the design of the TCE, in fact, I will show both designs, and that's inside the box. In fact, I'll pop this back in and tape it in so it doesn't go amiss. So you can see the other design of the TCE closed. These are based on the earlier form of the prop, because the prop did change slightly over time. For example, you can see here there's a little bit of a gap here, and that with this version of the prop there. And later on, this would be like all big one shape. It wouldn't have a ball at the end like that. The ball would still be there, but basically there wouldn't be a little join gap here. I'm explaining this really badly, but we can also see here we've got an alternate smiling head, which again I'll get on to a second. We've also got the Master's remains as well, and also the chest that holds it, which obviously, you know, is from the TV movie. It's really nicely well done, and the fact that, you know, it does open and the inside is red. Bit warped, actually. I don't know if it's meant to be like that, but stretch out. There we go, straighten it out a little bit. But it is a nice little thing with all the Gallifreyan text and that, and you know, to be honest, I'm not bothered too much about it, you know, should it come with this masker, should it not? I'm glad it's just there, to be honest, and I'm not that fussed when it comes to stuff like that. I'll take a bonus accessory, whether it's meant to go with that figure or not. But if we swap the heads over, which is quite easy to do, much easier to do with these ball-jointed heads than it was with the other plug ones. As you can see here, you can get some really nice sort of poses and make him look a bit demony, to be quite frank. But yeah, really nice. To be honest, I don't know which one I prefer. I think I do prefer the solemn head and that, but the smiling head, I do like the smiling head, since I think they give the figure a little bit more life and allow for, you know, more varied and that expressions and that in the figure. But again, very, very easy to swap it, and that, no, you know, risking breaking a peg joint here. So that's nice. So yeah, and obviously the main accessory, which is an interesting one for one reason. So we've got the pillar, which is obviously probably the most famous version of this version of the Master's Tardis, which has been released before with the 5th Doctor Regeneration figure. Now, this one has been enlarged slightly. I think, if I remember rightly, it's slightly taller. I don't have the original to compare. And also, the colour of it is slightly different as well in terms of the wash. But then again, the pillar itself did change in that over time in terms of the colour of it. If you look at it in Legopolis, and then look at it again in Time Flight it's much, much darker. And that, at least that's how it appears to be. It is still, you know, rotocast and everything. But here's my question, you know, about this thing. Has Alduar modified this? Because he didn't specify whether he modified the original, or has he made a new one? Because here's the thing, right? If this is a modification to make it slightly more accurate and slightly taller, okay. I mean, I don't think anyone's complaining about the previous one anyway. However, if he's made a brand new one, why? It just feels like Alduar is kind of wasting money here to try and justify the price of this set, because if you were to make a brand new one of these, you can see here you've got a line sculpted in, and that, you know, sort of indicates the door. Why not have this be an actual door? Why not have it be a thing that actually opened? And it wouldn't be too hard to do. In fact, some people, I know there's one person who actually cut along this to actually open it up, and apparently this version of the Master actually fits inside, which, yeah, he would do. So, if it is a new sculpt, then, you know, have it be better than the original, have it be an opening door, have it be more of a justification of the price. Now, if it's a tweaked thing, then, you know, that doesn't quite cost as much and that, but still, it just kind of feels like there's a trying to be, you know, a justification for the price of this thing. Including, some people have said, oh, the box is a justification. Well, I wouldn't call it that. It is, obviously, you know, the Tardis Project control room here with a little indent here, so a Master or a 4th Doctor and that can actually, you know, come through it, and that. It's a nice little thing, but here's the thing with it as well, though. This set is £45 bloody pounds. Like, the price of these online exclusives are just going up and up and up, as I said, and with this figure, you know, the legs are reused and that. The arms, I don't know if they're reused from a different figure or not, because they could be tweaked, I don't know. But the fact that they're not, you know, the Gen 3 body type arms and that, and they're the older style arms, you know, it does severely more limit the articulation and kind of feels like, oh, that's pressing against the tunic type of thing. Better not do that. And the fact that they're not ball jointed either. You know, £40 for this, I'm going to say it, it's overpriced. It's a nice figure, and I do like the set overall, but that price, this is why I've only bought one of these, to be quite frank. I can't keep, you know, maybe I might get another in the future, I don't know, probably not, to be honest, since it's not an Army Builder one, because again, just come off B&M month, and that, spent quite a bit of money with them, the Season 13 box set and everything else, you know. But 45 quid for this is just overpriced, like, and it's not to do with inflation, because, again, last year we had the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday figures, which, at retail, they were £17.99 each, and obviously the online exclusives, which came with accessories, they were £40. 40 quid. And those were completely brand new figures with brand new accessories. This is reusing some parts, and that. Whether this is partly reused from the original, again, I don't know at the time of recording. But it doesn't feel like I've got 45 quid's worth. If this was £30, and I think £30 would be fair for this. If it was 30 quid, fine. Fine. In fact, 30 quid, I'd say, okay, I can see where the money is here, and that. Maybe even 35. Maybe 35. 45 is just absolutely ridiculous for this thing. It is a ridiculously high price. And I think the sales are kind of showing for this, because character, I notice a lot of the time, would tweet, for example, about, you know, their sales numbers. Well, be vague about them. I remember they tweeted that, oh, they'd sold, I think it was, what, 85–90% of the Beep the Meep set, and that a few days, I think it was a few days, maybe a week after it came out, they tweeted out saying, oh, we've sold 80-something% of stock. That's still available on their website. Doesn't sound like something that's about to sell out. The 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday set, still available on their website. The Beep the Meep set's on there. The 14th Doctor Sonic Screwdriver is still on there. To be fair, though, they did order extra ones, so that one did technically sell out, and they just ordered more. But yeah, it does make me wonder how well are these selling. Also, Third Doctor set as well. That's on there still, not sold out. Whereas you compare it to how things, you know, were going initially when they first started these exclusives, where they were much more reasonably priced. This may sell out, and that's possibly, I don't know. And when I say sell out, obviously it will eventually, but still, I don't know how quickly it will. But yeah, the price, something has to be done about the price. Like, if you're going to charge 45 quid for this, these arms should be brand new. These arms should be brand new. I see it there. This should open. The Tardis and that should open. That you should feel like you're getting your money's worth for this. Because again, this is one figure with just a bunch of accessories. And that. And it isn't the, you know, mammoth amount. And that's a nice assortment, but still. Where's my money's worth here? So, yeah. Do I recommend this figure? Yes, I do recommend it. But that price, like, seriously, something has to be done about that price, because I wouldn't be surprised if Character puts it up to 50 quid next year. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, they are pretty greedy with their prices. If, you know, and the fact that B&M prices have stayed pretty consistent shows that, oh, you know, they can afford to do things cheaper. And, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, there isn't, you know, more than a B&M set worth here. There absolutely is, but always take price into account. But anyway, I've kind of waffled on enough and that's with this video, so thank you for watching this review, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.